Welcome to Rooted, Stories of Entrepreneurship and Agribusiness, a podcast from Colorado State University's Department of Agricultural and Resource Economics. I'm your host, Lauren Chenarides. I'm currently an assistant professor of agricultural business at Colorado State University, where I teach a course on agribusiness entrepreneurship. In this podcast series, we explore stories of how people across the food and agriculture industry identify problems, create solutions, and build or improve businesses that make an impact. What makes Rooted unique is that each episode is co-hosted by students in the Agribusiness Entrepreneurship course, who bring their own curiosity and questions to the table. Their conversations with leaders across food and agriculture are a chance to learn, reflect, and share those insights with you, our audience of students, entrepreneurs, and change makers in food and agriculture. I appreciate your time and attention, and I'm excited to share these inspiring stories with you. I'm joined today by Luke and Nate, two of our student co-hosts, both agricultural business majors, and our guest today is Alan Jantzen. Big Al Jantzen, as he goes by. He started his career in the hospitality industry. By age 22, he had worked his way up to assistant general manager. Al spent several years leading operations for Hot Corner Concepts, managing 7 restaurant locations, 400 employees, and over $12 million in annual revenue. In 2021, he purchased Silver Grill Cafe and then followed up by buying Vern's in 2022, 2 very historic establishments here in Fort Collins and known for their cinnamon rolls. Al got his roots growing up in a livestock raising family that moved from Nebraska to Colorado, where his dad worked in sheep and goat buying and feedlot operations, and has now returned to those roots, managing a 42-acre property near Loveland, where he grows hay to support his horse breeding operation. Welcome to the podcast, Alan.
Thank you very much. I've brought you all some cinnamon rolls to have as well. I appreciate you having me in today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. So we want to just kind of talk about your upbringing into the business world, and we want to just kind of start with your journey from farming to washing dishes to now owning Silver Grill Cafe.
Oh boy, that's a short story.
Yeah, there's a lot more, I'm sure.
There's a lot to. I'm like everybody else. I grew up on the farm. We were outside of town. No cable TV. Pizza wasn't delivered to the house. I wanted all of those things. If I wanted those things, I better get a car. So I wanted a car. So I walked up and down the street, turned in applications, and I was hired as a pot and pan dishwasher at a hotel group in Greeley, Colorado. Spent probably around 6 or 7 years there, worked up to the assistant general manager position of the hotel. Hotel group sold and I was fired. And so start all over at 22. And I ended up here in Fort Collins through a series of very fortunate events, friends that connected me with their friends. And I started at Hot Corner Concepts, which is a standalone 1-location restaurant at that time. And I think that it was a good marriage of my skill set that I had and eager, young, wanted to do more, wanted to make more. And that grew into a 30-year career. And then, of course, kind of towards the tail end of COVID, I thought in my great brain, what a great time to buy a restaurant. No, not at all, Evan. But it turned out to be a great time. And again, through some amazing connections and people in my life, we were able to put together a deal with John and buy the Silver Grill. And during that process, the folks from Vern's had reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in, nobody knew I was working on that. I was still gainfully employed in my other career, and they had reached out to see if I would be interested in buying their restaurant.
So totally by accident?
Just totally by accident.
Coincidence?
Just pure coincidence.
Huh.
So I had to say, no, I couldn't do that. And they, I think, surmised pretty quickly that something was up, and the news broke, and they quickly became 2 of my best regulars at Silver Grill and courted me for a year until they
made you an offer that you
they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So that's how we ended up where we are. That's the very brief version of how I got to where I am today.
So before ownership in these different 2 restaurants, what made you go from, because you were more of a manager type of role before, what made you go from managing to owning? What made you want to do that as well?
I think it was, I always worked those restaurants, and like any job I ever had, I always kind of worked it like I owned it. If it was sports or anything I wanted, if it was sports, I wanted to be the captain. If it was a student project, I wanted to be the president. If it was student leadership, I wanted to be the president. Those things I love, being in leadership roles. I really value that. And, as I was working my way through, it became apparent that, to really become satisfied towards I'm on the back side of my career. I'm not in the front side of my career. But I wanted to really kind of leave my imprint on our community and with what I think I do well, and that was own a piece of the restaurant community. And it just happened to be that it worked out very well for me to own, a legacy place in Fort Collins as well. So tomorrow is our 92nd anniversary.
Wow.
92-cent cinnamon rolls tomorrow for you guys.
We're there. Very excited about that.
Is there anything in your career before owning these restaurants that you thought to yourself, you're like, that would be a good idea? Like, was there any part of you that was like, you knew it was, obviously you believed in yourself, but did you think it was going to be a good idea? Or did you think, oh, this might not turn out well? Or were you just betting on yourself?
No, I think I fear failure incredibly. It's a haunting thing. I don't like to fail. Failure is what keeps me awake at night. So my fear of failure, and honestly, my fear of failure and my incredible wife's, her support and saying, I'm tired of you talking about what you would do with different places. Why don't you just go do it? And so that was enough to say, okay, I don't think I will allow myself to fail because I hate it so much. And knowing that I had a great support system at home that would back me up, and she loves the business too. I mean, she thrives in the business. So it felt like it was a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
And I had a great support system getting in. Previous owners are big fans of ours and, visit us today. That's why I thought I was going to be late today to this one. One of the previous owners, Silver Grill, wanted to come and catch up with me and talked about how the weekend was. So
Nice.
it's a great, those great partnerships are, again, another pillar to keep things supported really well.
Was there anything that you really were scared of beforehand, or
Scared of everything.
Yeah? Was there anything in particular like staffing or money or?
When we first started, I didn't even know what my staff looked like for 6 months. We were in masks, tables were spaced. That was very fearful. It was and it was a turbulent time. You guys have all dabbled in restaurants or a little bit, and coming out of that, there was the restaurant business was distrusted by people who were working in it. You didn't want to. You'd been shut down twice. You have lost your ability to make your livings. So there was a definite element of mistrust towards the industry as a whole. So it was the first 2 years were very difficult to find leadership and people that were really engaged and believed in what we were doing, because we were trying to change the industry again. I wanted to go back to what the service industry looked like when I was a kid. Where it was very there was personal touch to it. Even though we're using a ton of technology to execute what we do every day, the personal touch, especially through COVID and coming out of COVID, had kind of been lost. And so I preach that really hard to my inner circle, is we want to recreate the restaurant dining experience that has kind of been missing, and really give the personal touch back to people. Even though we're in masks and tables are spaced and all of that stuff, we can still be people and still try to give that sense of community back. And so when we started doing that, and you started to see, okay, we did 500 meals last week, but we did 550 this week. You're starting to build some momentum and starting to see what things are happening. It's really been a fun ride now, but I think that once you put a few pieces of those good culture in place that kind of fit with your personality. Other people find it because they're, they want to be part of it. Kind of grows.
Back to what your wife said too, where you're now in this leadership role, owning these two businesses. Have you been able to put yourself into it? Like you were, that transition from manager to leader or owner and operator. Have you been able to integrate yourself into Silver Grill, into Vern in the way that, maybe you envisioned or maybe you didn't envision?
I think I think both of those places are so community focusing, so community oriented, that being in the business is the best thing I can do. So yeah, I'm there. I mean, you come into Silver Grill and ask for me, and most likely I will be there. So I love that piece of it, being able to see guests and greet guests and thank guests. It's a total reward for me. I get to make new friends every single day. Yeah. So.
I mean, I will say there's not a time that I've been to Silver Grill where I haven't seen you talking to somebody, doing something there, which is really good to see in the restaurant industry today. My question would be, what did you see in Silver Grill in 2021 when you were looking to buy it as the biggest opportunity?
I would say that it was a tale of trajectories. There was you always every time you go somewhere you put kind of. I like to put myself in what would I do differently to make this place busy. I would sit in there and just go, oh my goodness, if they would just change this, they would just change that. This could be amazing. And so I think we played it. We slow played it a lot because I didn't also want to be the guy that went to Silver Grill and changed things. Even though it's changed a lot, I think our changes have been subtle and consistent and positive enough that people are like, it's the same old Silver Grill. Perfect. I don't want you to think that everything's changed just to suit me or my ego. That's not a factor in it. I want to continue to serve the community, which is what they were doing and had been known for so long. I just wanted to do it in a bigger way and really, kind of be part of it here and be part of the town.
That's good. Starting from an already built platform, I feel like you can't change too much. It's already an institution.
Yeah. And I'm a little older too, I'm like, a startup is super scary, I mean, how do you convince, 80 or 100 people to come work with you on an idea that you have? If you take this, what was working really well and you spin it a little bit along your way, for me, it was a win-win, especially coming out of the period that we were in. Just massage that concept into what it was going to look like afterwards.
How would you say that your many years at Hot Corner Concepts prepared you for the jump to not a startup but rebuilding an already established brand?
I would say the thing that helped me the most is I was never afraid to be the guy that kind of just was dropped into different projects. All right, you're doing good here. Let's drop you in over here and see what happens there. Let's drop you in over there. So I didn't take a team of people with me. It was just me. I just parachute into a problem and go try to fix it and make it run and make it work. And so going into Silver Grill, that was just like another day at work. You just travel along. It's all the same. Hot food, hot. Cold food, cold. Do it with a smile, and you can pretty much win, right? Yeah. So I thought if I can just do that initially, I'll be okay. So I think that there was, and there was a certain level of excitement. And the place just feels comfortable to me. It just suits my personality, and I think it fits me well. So it's like I've been there forever. Day one, I was like, I'm home. This is good. I'm good.
In this day and age, I would say a lot of people that are young and looking for work, they're very hot-headed. They don't want to stay in one place for a long time. Even now, I guess, how do you keep employees with you, especially in a college town where the turnover's so high? How do you keep people to stay wanting to work for you if they're in college and stay with you afterwards, or if they're slightly older and they want to just have a good salary, just working their days away? What would you do in terms of the older generation and the younger generation to keep both of them around?
I think that we're pretty transparent folks. Right off the bat, when I interview somebody right away, I'm like, hey, I look at this as a long-term relationship. And, I don't expect anybody that was, is taking this class and working for me at the same time. I'm like, give me your 3 greatest years. I want you to go do great things in this world, but I need your 3 best now. So I'm pretty transparent when I'm hiring right at the if I do everything that I tell you I'm going to do and give you everything that you need to be successful as well, can't this be a long-term relationship? Can't we do the things right? And then we're pretty, we don't let things fester. We grab people right away. We have a lot of conversations. We are, constantly, even though the restaurant's been there 92 years, we seek to improve and tweak and refine every single day. There is no perfect day. Every day is just a learning lesson for tomorrow. So what do you do today to get better for tomorrow?
So do you expect people to work there for a couple of years, or is there a certain, like if they're younger, do you obviously expect them to work there shorter, and if they're older, longer? Is that kind of the way you look?
It's always my hope.
Yeah.
I think that especially in my industry, the retraining costs and the lost opportunities at tables and the missed opportunity when you answer a phone and you don't have the right answer right away, those things are minimized when you have people that are there for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. So try to get people to stay with you longer and be part of your organization for a long time helps everything. Helps the bottom line, helps morale, helps everything. And I think if you're hiring the right people and if they're bringing people along and into the circle that are their friends or people that they respect and enjoy working with, you start to grow your culture, and then you find people that are of like mind that want to become part of the culture, and then it starts to stay. So our turnover is incredibly low. There's probably 10% of the roster that tends to change over more frequently. But when 5 years ago, that was 80% of the roster was changing. You never knew who was going to be there from day to day. So we're really very, very low. I have people that have worked in that building that work for me now that have been there 20 plus years, 25 plus years, and do a variety of different jobs, not leadership jobs. They enjoy what they do. They enjoy the people we serve and the people that they're surrounded with. So that's been, thankfully, one of the great surprises is, being able to fairly quickly get our team in place and then maintain that core group of people.
Yeah.
For any other business owner out there, what is the number one thing? If you had to say one thing, what is the number one thing for employee retention? I know it's hard to say one thing.
No, it's probably not. I mean, money. No. So, no. I think that's always going to be part of the equation, right? We work for a reason. We'd like to pay for our bills. But I think teaching the why of why you want things done and why it's important to you is the most valuable thing that I think people forget to do or don't want to do because it's menial, it's a pain. But when you start to teach the why and really explain it, I have a pet peeve about keeping our bathrooms clean. I want them checked every 30 minutes. Go in there, just make sure that they're clean. That's my thing, And I had to explain the why is it important to me, to my team. And when I told them the why, it was funny how all of a sudden it just got done all the time, and I didn't have to harp on it. We didn't have to have the checklist. I didn't have to have the timers going off. I didn't have the. They were just like, oh,
they were thinking like, yeah.
They're just like, I get it. That's important.
I remember hearing one thing in the last time that we talked. You said, hire good people and get out of their way. That's the best thing you can do for.
That's one of my favorite quotes of all time, and I think certainly for my leadership team, it is identify and hire great people, and then just let them do their job. Mm-hmm. Get the heck out of the way. Yeah. I can still be part of the program. I can still be part of the restaurant and not have the pressure of running it every single day. But I can still impart what I want to do through the knowledge that I have great people that are taking care of the business how I want them to.
Yeah, and that lets you strategize in other ways. Like if you have the team in place, then they can manage the day-to-day, and you can strategize and think about, the next themed cinnamon roll.
Which is always a hard study.
It's definitely some factors that go into that. Yeah, you seem to have it down pretty good.
Well, we'll see.
So, as someone that's been part of the hospitality industry and the restaurant culture in Fort Collins for so long, where do you see the direction of the industry shifting in the next couple of years or even decade?
I think you can, I hope that we continue to maintain this. I'll talk just about Fort Collins, initially. I hope that we can continue to maintain our real individual look and spin on restaurants. And the support that comes from the community is so valuable to that. But when you travel our downtown, it's just such a unique grouping of different restaurants and people doing their own thing and doing it at a super high level. And I'm super proud of the community that I compete against. They're all top notch. They're great operators. So I hope that the Fort Collins maintains that. In a larger sense, I think that the shift away from specialty restaurants to more of the fast casual dinings will continue to be a thing. I think that there's a lot of, built-in opportunity for restaurants to be, specialized in burgers or chicken tenders or whatever it is, and you can do that food at a really high level with a, kind of a narrow lane that you live in, and the build-outs are not expensive. The staffing can be pretty. You can kind of cookie cutter those things along, but I can see that being kind of a larger trend that continues to be built. It doesn't take as much people to do it, the manpower piece.
Yeah. I would. So in this modernization right now that's happening in like restaurants and all this, as a business owner, I see or as a restaurant owner, I see all of these like restaurant chains moving to like you walk in and you order yourself and then it's like all on a screen and you're losing that face-to-face interaction. Would you say it's worth it to get rid of that? Because you don't have to pay anyone a salary anymore to take orders, but then you're losing that face-to-face conversation, which is half the reason people go to restaurants in the first place. What's your take on that, like, whole electronic side of things taking over?
Mm-hmm. So first off, I love my technology.
Yes.
Love it. Could not operate at the level at which we're doing without what we've put in place. That being said, I still have cashiers. Mm-hmm. We don't pay out at the table because that's one last opportunity for me to show you a cinnamon roll, say thank you, and we appreciate your business. So it cost me a fortune. I would make so much more money if I didn't have those people. But by not having Katie and Cameron and Christina and all these people that I truly enjoy what they do, I would be missing out for me as well, because that's our spin, that's our piece. So I hope everybody continues to do it that way, because I'm going to keep doing it my way.
So you're against the whole.
I'm against it. I love that personal touch, and it is more expensive, and it creates challenges on the P&L without a doubt. It is a challenging. Probably somebody should shake my head and ask me what the heck I'm thinking, but I like that. And I think that that's one of the things that sets us apart. I think that there is a sense of community when you kind of stand in line to pay. We move fast, so you're not standing there forever. But I watch the interactions between my guests as they're paying out, and I get to see the smile on the face of my cashiers when they genuinely say thank you. Hey, thanks. We really appreciate
that last face-to-face interaction before they leave.
Exactly. And, it's so unique now, and it's so different. What was so common, we've just kind of ridden it through, and now we're cool again, in my mind.
And, I grew up on the East Coast, and diners were a thing. And so coming out here, moving to Colorado, and having that face-to-face, it's nostalgic in a way. And it is so unique. And I think part of maybe the hospitality industry is having that marketing edge, that brand that's really sets you apart and differentiates you.
Yeah, we want to be different. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the differences that we really want to put our stamp on is our people. And nothing begins or ends without the incredible people that I have that work in those facilities, both places.
I feel like the demand for that face-to-face interaction is going up as people are spending more times behind their desks or on their phones.
I think you're right.
It's a relief. Right. It's a break for them.
Go out. You can go out, get a meal that's obviously handcrafted, everything's scratch, served by somebody who genuinely enjoys their job and wants to be there, with a production going on that is a very high volume, and with a pace that's happening at your pace, and then getting, you're greeted at the door with a smile. You leave the front door with a thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just special. That's that experience that I really, when my wife would just needle me on the way home from, when we were talking about buying this place, why, what are we going to do there? And I was like, it's all about recreating the experience.
I think COVID played a big factor in that too, because everyone was just locked in, and they were like, well, at first they liked on the screen ordering and all that stuff because they don't have to talk to one and they don't have to do anything. They don't have to fake an interaction. But now they're like, I kind of miss that. Like, I kind of miss going out. I mean, if you think about why people go out to eat and drink, it's for that reason. It's to go interact with other people. It's
at our core, humans are social beings.
We're all herd animals, man. We like to be around other people. You can say as much as you want that you want to stay at home, but I don't believe any of it.
Yeah, and half of what the food dollar goes to is food away from home. So and that's just increased over time. So I think that's pretty much here to stay.
I agree. I held off and didn't move to DoorDash until it's not even been a year. And it's funny, everybody was just throwing them at the doorstep of DoorDash and, please take my business. Please put me on the platform. We'll get to you whenever we can, buddy. We'll get to you. And you'll give us 25%. You're going to love us for doing it. And it's funny how things change. When we waited, DoorDash started, hey, Silver Grill. Hey, Silver Grill. We sure would love to have you on the platform. We're like, no, we're good. We're good. And so for the better part of 3.5 years, we didn't touch it. And then all of a sudden it came hey, maybe a little signing bonus for you would be good. Yeah. And maybe we cut that rate in half for you, that would be good. And we're like, okay, we can talk.
Yeah.
So it's funny how waiting just a few years flips the whole table for us. They're and it's smart for them too, because there's not a lot of pressure in the morning to keep those drivers busy. Yeah. You got to keep the drivers busy. You got to keep people signing on and having opportunity to make money. You got to grow that population. So we've given them, a couple hundred orders a day that are in a time period which they were probably not working much. So it worked out good for both of us. But it's funny how it worked. We were all panicked to get hooked up with all these delivery services, and when you waited it out a little bit, then it's funny how the tables kind of turned. So that was pretty cool.
That had to be a compliment.
That was a nice compliment. Exactly right. I took it as a great compliment.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably nice. Well, you've just moved recently within the past year to DoorDash. Do you see what's your next big advancement for Silver Grill, or do you like the way it is?
I love the way it is, but I'll never be content with anything that we do. I will be, I've told my management team, I'll take a breath when you run 7 days a week like it's Sunday here every single day. Mm-hmm. That's when we can take our first breath. So that's a lofty goal, but I know that team can get there as they just stay on the course. The other things that I think are interesting and unique for us is we do, our calling card is a cinnamon roll. And I think that one of the things that, with the increase in business that we're seeing and my maniacal push on getting a cinnamon roll to every person is that all of a sudden now I'm in a little bit of a pickle with space in my restaurant and overlapping. So my bakers come in and bake overnight because there's no room to bake during the day.
Yeah.
So we bake overnight, and we're pulling those rolls out fresh in the morning, going right into the case. So even though the Silver Grill is only open 49 hours a week, 7 hours a day, it's the restaurant never shuts down. It functions 24 hours a day. And so now we're starting to kind of bump into each other. We're bumping into each other on either side, where we're having to work a little bit later in the day to get things cleaned up and put away and re-prepped. And my bakers are wanting to get going, and then they have a long night, and we're getting there trying to get going, and the space constraints and all those things. So I think that we will have to try to find a remedy for that, and then I think that spawns a whole nother opportunity for us to maybe take the cinnamon rolls to a grander scale, maybe more nationwide delivery, or looking at going into grocers with a proof and bake product or something like that would be completely different, not in our wheelhouse.
So expand the product line.
Yeah, expand that. Allow me to move my bakery out of that facility into a standalone place where It can have a little bit more elbow room,
Sure.
and everybody works with it. But and that's fun to think about too. Is what could that really look like, and what is that? What advantages does that bring? So that's probably the one that's on my mind right now.
Yeah.
For the viewers at home, how many cinnamon rolls are those bakers making per night?
Per night, that's a hard one. It goes up and down every night. I can tell you more per month. Right now, we're averaging 12,000 a month.
Wow.
That's an
Wow.
average. So December is way crazier than that.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve will be about 4,000 pieces on Christmas Eve.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we've eclipsed the 12,000 mark, which was a goal for us, and quite honestly, it was next year's goal. So we have to go back and recalibrate again for some new goals. So it's we're right at 12,000 a month.
What are other metrics that you track? So you're talking about number of meals served, retention, turnover.
Yep.
Cinnamon rolls. What are some other metrics that in the hospitality industry you're really tracking?
For me, being a breakfast restaurant, one of the things that I saw right away at Silver Grill when we talked about what is my first area of opportunity was things just took a while. And at breakfast, I would assume most people generally have somewhere else to go. You're not in there typically celebrating a birthday or unwinding for a 3-hour meal. Of course, you got to go. An average experience at the Silver Grill when I took it over was running at about an hour and a half. And the hang-up was in our kitchen where cook times, nobody really was tracking that. Nobody was really looking at it. You knew when it was not good because people were getting hungry and looking around and maybe not very happy at the table. But nobody was really tracking that. So we got in there and it was, okay, pretty quickly. I would just do it, on my phone, on my watch, just start to track different tables and start to read into that. And the point of sale program that I had at the time gave me some metrics. Not great, but they gave me some. It allowed me to drill into it enough to say, hour and a half, and based on personal experiences, friends' experiences, and what I was getting, that's way too long. And we have a 200-seat restaurant. If you're only turning that every hour and a half, at the price point at which we're at, that you're just kind of treading water. You're not really doing things. So the first thing we dug our heels in was to how to speed up the kitchen, how to make it more efficient, how to become more scratch, not less scratch. We went more scratch. So we doubled down into being more handcrafted foods. And so we did all of those things. We were creative with some cooking methods and just accountabilities and giving people good feedback and being able to let them kind of control and only have to look at what they would see. And we were still on a ticket system when I started there, and somebody would call, they'd call 15 things. Well, I could remember 3. I mean, so that's not fair. That's hard. So when we put up screens and gave people their own metrics, I think people are all competitive. You want to stay in the green. That's good. Green is good. So when we gave, colors and accountability and set goals and explain why we were doing this thing, the whole thing started to speed up. And then we, worked on the service side a little bit and the delivery of foods. Our average experience last month was 43 minutes.
Amazing.
Wow. And I think that you probably feel more leisurely now than you did at an hour and a half because you're not looking around for when am I going to get a refill on my coffee? Where is my food? Things are just happening at the right cadence. So now we're able to see basically almost twice as many people as we were able to see at that time.
And then, so on the scratch kitchen part, so that to me makes me wonder about how, you work with your suppliers to ensure that you're getting consistency in the inputs for all the things that you're creating. So I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about that experience.
There's a number of people that I credit for really being super helpful for the success that we've attained. My broadline supplier, Shamrock Foods, is definitely one of those partnerships that we have. Everybody would love to go shop on the corner and buy from your local farmer. Heck, I want you to buy from the local farmer. I'm a local farmer. And when you're doing the volume that we're doing in the pace and the style in which we're doing it, you have to have a broadline food purveyor. I choose Shamrock because they're still family owned, and they really do act like they're my partner. So even though they're a massive company, I get the phone call, hey Al, what's going on? How can we help? What do you need? Or, hey Al, you guys forgot to order hamburgers, so I'm going to bring them over to them. You're just like, wow, oh, that's great. So my broadline purveyor is probably my first line of defense, and has been really the cornerstone for the quality and the consistency, which you have to have, in and amongst everything else, all the moving parts in a restaurant. And I would say, they epitomize what I would want to work with, and they're just great at getting me the product, how I need it, when I need it, at the volume at which we need it. Last month, the numbers were coming in for me. It was a very average month for us. It was 250 50-pound boxes of 100-count potatoes. Wow. So that's, you're talking 10 cases a day roughly that you have to have there, and you have to rely that somebody's going to get those delivered to your back door, and they're all going to be the right size, because our hash browns, aside from our cinnamon rolls, is probably the second most thing that people talk to me about is our hash browns. They come in as raw potatoes. Oh. And so we peel, cook, slice, and then griddle them to make them delicious. And we have to be very systematic with how we do it. So the peeler's not working right. All right, that's problem one. Yeah. And then oven's not working right. That's problem number two. But if you put a 150 count or a 80 count potato, in there instead, or they're all missized, your cook times now vary, or you have undercooked and overcooked in the same batch. So I need little soldiers every time they go in the oven, so I can get that same quality product. And so that's why I choose your Shamrock. And then we sprinkle in a lot of local partnerships as well. So we partner with a lot of local.
Out of curiosity, has there ever been any big mess ups or?
Oh, I can tell you about one of talk about being terrified. There was a potato shortage a couple years ago, and I'm like, what do I do? I mean, at the time, I needed 150 cases, and I'm like, how? You're telling me that there might not be any potatoes? I mean, no potatoes? No, 0 potatoes, and you were watching them just disappear. One SKU after another. And I'm like, oh man, could I use a dehydrated potato? No, I mean, the Silver Grill is a potato place. Yeah. So,
was that because of COVID?
It was actually there was a few years ago, there was the forest fires in Canada, Oregon, Idaho, all that stuff. And the butterfly effect, right? Mm-hmm. The ash from all of these fires were settling in the potato fields across the leaves. And didn't allow them to photosynthesize properly. Yeah. So they were getting incredibly small or no yields on plants. They were pulling up plants with no tubers in them. So you have, this beautiful plant that has nothing underneath it. So they ran short. It was the first time nobody could tell me a time in our history where they had actually run out of potatoes in storage. So they had packed out a big load. Shamrock got this load. And my salesman and I were talking. I'm like, dude, I need to put 150 cases aside somewhere and make sure that I'm protected. He's like, all right, let's get it done. So we cleared out one whole side of the kitchen, and they brought in 150 cases of potatoes. Wow. And we got down to our last 3 and 4 cases, and they got another shipment in.
Ooh.
Perfect.
And it was like, oh my gosh. It was a very tight and sleepless time for me because there was nothing. I mean, by now, even my idea of I could do dehydrated, and try to cobble that together. No, those were gone now. Yeah. Everything was gone. Right. So it was really, I was like, where am I going to have to drive? How am I going to get these back? Yeah. What's this going to cost me? Yeah. Right. So that was a scary time. But that's a great partner too.
Yeah. Smart business move out of you to go buy those beforehand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was.
If you had to give some advice to another person that wanted to start a restaurant, I know you do.
Would love to.
What would you tell Luke that he needs to do to start a successful business? I mean, I know you started with the businesses that were already there beforehand, but does he need a lot of capital? Does he need investors? What does he need to start that?
I would say grab as much experience as you can first. The thing probably, really identify and find your concept that you truly believe in, and just work it hard every single day. It depends so much on, I look at some of the beautiful restaurants that have been built downtown, and I look at the millions of dollars that have been put into these places, and I look at some of my favorite places were started with, not even $100,000, and so I think it really depends on what that concept is and what you're going to go after and what your risk tolerance is going to be. How much I'm risk adverse. I'm 56, 57 years old now, very risk adverse, and so my going to start a $5 million restaurant, probably not going to happen, but continuing to find legacy restaurants that could use a new spin and some love and some attention. I'm up for that all the time. That's just fun,
So would you say that's the easier way to go if you want to start a successful business?
It was easier for me. And again, it was that nice marriage of, it was a concept I believed in, and it was a concept that felt so like home to me, that it wasn't like I wasn't taking John Arnoffel's restaurant and trying to make it Alan Janssen's restaurant. I was taking the Silver Grill and I'm shepherding it through to the next guy that's going to own the Silver Grill. And I'm putting my spin on it and my mark on the community and my way of doing it. And somebody else will come along, I hope, and take it from me and run it for 40 years and do their own thing and make me super proud. So that was easier for me. I think that, when you get into, if it's a chef-driven concept and you like, all the crazy cuts of meats and microgreens and all of those things, I would say, hey, let's have a beer. And I'd love to talk you out of that. But if it's something that you're truly passionate about, it'll work. You just have to find your lane and work it hard and get there. But you can, it's like any business. You can spend as much as you want to spend to start a restaurant. There is no limit to what you can spend to open one of those places up. But you can also do it really well in another way.
And it seems like you have to know your market really well.
Yeah.
Based on what I'm hearing too. A chef-driven concept with microgreens and special cuts of meat might not fly in a college town. Maybe it'll work somewhere else. But I think what I'm hearing is you really have to know your market.
Exactly. And I think there's always, there's room for everything in every world. I have my little hometown. They have a, rabbit sausage on this little bistro-y place, and I'm like, is that going to work? And it's my favorite. I can't wait to go every time I go to my tiny hometown. It's built in the bank, and the vault is the cooler, and it's super cool. I never thought it was going to last 3 weeks. So, but they're very invested in the community. They double down on what they do, and they do it really well, and they've made it work. So
it's all about the passion.
I would, it's you have to find your lane, your passion, and what your tolerance for risk is. I think.
Yeah, really very entrepreneurial training, I would say.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Yeah.
Some would say the restaurant industry is one of the harder ones to get into, and you seem to have done very well. So,
I don't know why that's my gift.
Was it hot corner concepts that let you be so successful? Like, if you weren't at Hot Corners, would you be as successful?
Yeah. I would be.
Yeah,
I would be.
See, confidence.
I would be.
It's the
I would be.
confidence.
I would say, would they be as successful as they are without me?
Nice.
Would be the question I would ask them.
Mic drop.
And I would, because I think that there has to be, there's the yin and yang, of course, with any relationship and what you do. But I think that, again, I think I brought a lot to the table for them. The advantage that I got working in that group was they allowed me to work it like I owned it. If you went into 90% of those places, 90% of the people that went into those places thought I owned it. Wow. They thought I was the owner. They would talk to me, treat me, introduce me as the owner, and I stop. No, I'm not the owner. And so I would say that was probably the latitude that I got in that respect. Did say, I I have some credibility with my community and people that are in the community and want to see me. They wanted to see me be successful. You know, maybe not the restaurant or the brand or whatever I was associated with. They were really invested in Alan. And they're still my great guests now. You know, they followed me along to each and every concept.
Yeah.
So that would be my...
There you go.
Amazing. Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you both to Luke and to Nate. It's just been such a great interview. So
Thank you,
really
Alan.
appreciate you.
Appreciate and enjoy the cinnamon rolls.
Can't wait to dive into those.
Yes.
You guys at home, come enjoy some cinnamon rolls too.